Good morning, folks, again from the largest lunatic asylum in the world. It's called Ireland. Today, the government have announced, with great fanfare, new plans to eliminate racism and racist attitudes and do away with all kinds of racist profiling in the country. There's a three-pronged attack on this racism, alleged racism. One, all the police forces will not be allowed to profile people who are of a different color or whatever, who are living in the country. The second policy is that the politicians will be obliged to recruit an appropriate number of non-Irish, non-white people into their ranks and put them forward for election. The third one is that landlords and people renting properties will be castigated in a big way if they profile and treat people who are looking for accommodation and not Irish, not white, not whatever, in a bad way. So to deal with those 3 points today, I think this is a load of baloney. The whole program is a load of bull. Anyway, the first one about the police profiling them, I don't think the police have ever profiled people of color in this country. Um, Certainly in the States, where the drug trade is in the hands of Negroes in most of the big cities, um, they do tend to be profiled in a bad way, and they do tend to be stopped and sent to jails for even possession of small amounts of Class A drugs. And that's a problem there, but I cannot imagine it happening in Ireland, where the whole drug trade is in the hands of our own indigenous natives like the Kinahans and other gangs who are fighting each other viciously and killing each other weekly to garner the vast profits to be made in the industry. So it will be a long time, I think, before they hand over control to anybody from any part of Africa, north, south, east, or west. As for the politicians having to have a quota of non-white people now put forward for election, I don't see any problem with that at all, because it would be great to see people. They couldn't do a worse job than the gang that's there at the moment, but I do not see it happening. I think the politicians tend very closely to guard the wealth and the privileges of being a politician uh, for their own clique and circle. And I don't think they're going to have too many newbies from different parts of the world put forward as candidates in the next election. So the last one is the poor landlords. The poor landlords now are under attack again if they racially profile anybody who's looking for a property or a house to rent. Well, they don't need to worry too much about that, because there's very little property to rent at the moment anyway. And the few that come on the market are advertised by the landlord, and he announces he would like people with secure employment and references and all that kind of thing to make an inquiry by email. And he will look through the hundreds of applications, and he will interview a half dozen of them. So just put yourself in the shoes of one of those landlords, and you can see he's not going to mention anything about HAP payments or the color of one's skin in the advertisement on daft.ie. He'd be daft if he did. So anyway, all this fanfare about racism is just baloney. The only racism that's being inflamed every day is Roderick O'Gorman and his pals Varadkar and Mihol's policy of accepting plane loads of people arriving here with no documents every day, young males in their teens or early 20s, and trying to accommodate them and having promised them their own key, their own apartment, or whatever in within 4 months of arriving. And of course, now they are living in tent cities more and more. Every town in the country has tents, has areas where there's a growing number of tents. And the winter is ending, so they'll probably survive until next winter in the tents. But there's not going to be 100,000 houses built for them in the next couple of months. So they will be staying in their tents. They might get space in a few army barracks and things as Roddick scratches his head and wonders where else to put them. But I think all that will look after itself in due course, and a point will be reached where people will totally rebel because no young girl in any town or village or city will want to go outside her door at night. The High Court, the Circuit Courts in Dublin, the last 2 months have been full of cases where people have gone to jail for rape and assault, and a good percentage of them are taxi drivers. So these are all documented facts, and they can be looked up in any court records. So you can't come and accuse me of stirring up racial hatred. These are facts and figures, and the incompetence and idiocy of this government in following UN dictates of taking in the whole world as a so-called refugee has to be stopped, and it will be stopped. In Europe, it's being stopped. In England, it's been stopped, and it has to be stopped here too now eventually. But in the meanwhile, there will be racism because people are going to be hopping mad if every town and city and village in a country has another 100% more young men in tents in the next 6 months. And it's crazy. This is a lunatic bin. Good luck, folks. I've gone over on my video today. Sorry about having bored you for so long. Cheers.